in full. The Vice President of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has called on African leaders to close ranks in strengthening gains of democratic rule in order to deepen the frontier of social, political, and economic development of the continent. Vice President Osinbajo made the call during the opening session of a two-day coalition for dialogue on Africa with the theme West Africa rising to the challenges of consolidating democratic governance, held at the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library, Abeokuta. The event had in attendance two former presidents of Nigeria, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo and Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, as well as Ogun State Governor Prince Dapo Abiodun, among others. We'll bring you details of the report later in the course of the news. The perennial traffic bottleneck and gridlock being experienced on the Lafenwa-Sabo axis through Rounder Road will now be a thing of the past as the contractor handling the project continues with the laying of asphalt. Shop owners, transporters, traders, and people in the area expressed joy at the development, as this will bring succor to them and have huge impact on socio-economic activities. Matthew Shoumi has the details.
A beehive of commercial activities and one of the entry points to the capital city of Ogun State, Lafenwa is notable as the meeting points of different socio-economic activities. Such activities on this important area in Abeokuta are however faced with serious challenge due to the condition of the road serving as artery for both goods and human, brought about by the abandonment of the project kick-started by the previous administration. The strategic importance of the road and the untold hardship faced by users on daily basis necessitated the promise by the Ogun State Governor, Prince Dapo Abiodun, during one of his visits to ensure immediate action. The laying of asphalt signals the end to the hardship and harrowing experiences of the people on the road. Shop owners, transporters, traders, and people of the area could not hide their joy.
The road will make the business boost well, because since they are doing it, we are enjoying the road. But now, as they do it now, even I'm totally happy because of the business we boost, and my shop is outside now.
We appreciate the effort of the government to reduce hardship on this road. This is coming as a big relief to us.
Also, work is progressing on Kinta-Shomoni Road as the visit by our news crew revealed that the contractor is expediting action to deliver the project, just as people of the area praised the government for opening up the corridor, thereby throwing up the communities along the road to limelight. Matthew Shoumi, OGTV News.
Away from infrastructure development to education, the present administration in Ogun State will not relent in its efforts at ensuring that education is given necessary attention deserved in order to compete favorably among states. The chairman, Ogun State Universal Basic Education Board, SUBEB, Chief Femi Majekodumi, confirmed this while monitoring the commencement of the second term examinations in some primary schools within Abeokuta metropolis. Elizabeth Esson reports.
At the end of every academic term comes evaluation of pupils ahead of final examinations, rounding off the session for promotion into another class. In Ogun State, the case was not an exception, as logistics were put in place for timely commencement of the examination in all the primary schools in the state, rounding off 2021-2022 academic section's second term. Going around some of the schools in Abeokuta metropolis, the chairman, Ogun State Universal Basic Education Board, Dr. Femi Majekodumi, in company of members of the monitoring team, affirmed that education will continue to be at the front burner of the administration of Prince Dapo Abiodun in Ogun State.
Unified exam comes in place so that there will be fair assessment, which will be all over, and we can have different schools under Ministry of Education doing all these exams at the same time, and question papers almost the same throughout, depending on the different classes and so on. For now, what they are doing now is not school-based. So we limited the unified to the last term. Okay, that's the new arrangement. Unified will be at the end of the year, the final exam. School-based will be first term and second term.
Some of the air teachers who spoke with OGTV News crew commended the present administration in the state for giving education sector in the state a facelift.
There's no doubt we have enough questions, enough materials for this exam. We don't have any problem concerning this exam this time.
We have collected all the question papers since Friday. That makes us to start the exam early today. And all the papers, they are accurate. And all the teachers, they also came in time to start to prepare for the exam.
Some of the schools visited were Owu African Church Central School, Itayalode, Obafemi Owode Local Government Nursery and Primary School, Adigbe, and UBE Modern Nursery and Primary School, Olorombo, Abeokuta. Elizabeth Eson, OGTV News.
NYSC Trust Fund, on its final stage of passing into law in the State House of Representatives, is set to address inclusive growth, infrastructure deficits in the orientation camps, ensure adequate provision of other operational logistics, as well as the problem of graduate unemployment in the country. Ogun State NYSC Coordinator, Dr. Mrs. Belinda Imezi Faniyi, says the bill, if passed into law, will solve so many problems being faced by the scheme, as she commends the National Assembly for taking the bull by the horn.
It will help us to solve the challenges of deficit in our infrastructure in camp. It will enable us to be able to expand most of our orientation camps to have full capacity that can absorb the ever-increasing number of corps members. And our infrastructures in camp can be taken care of. Apart from that, our skills acquisition and entrepreneurship development centers can be replicated. Above all, it will assist greatly our core members to have start-up capitals for their skills, whichever skill they have acquired or they have keyed into. It will help the scheme.
NYSC Trust Fund becomes operational, the number of core entrepreneurs will increase drastically, and they will in turn help to provide jobs for millions of other youth in the country. These will equally help to reduce the issue of security challenges faced in the country, she stated. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, says 1,837,011 candidates were registered at the end of its 2022 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, UTME. The board, which disclosed these in its weekly bulletin on Monday in Abuja, said that the figure included the direct entry DE candidates. Reports have it that the board's 2022 registration commenced on February 19 and ended on March 26. The board has also scheduled its examinations to hold from May 6 to May 16. JAMB said that it had made significant progress in the registration of candidates for the 2022 exercise as compared to the 2021 exercise. It attributed the improvement to its partnership with the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, while adding that the seamless process had yielded the desired results. It, however, urged all candidates who registered and showed interest in sitting for its mock exercises to note the date and be prepared. The board had earlier rescheduled its 2022 UTME mock to hold on April 9 and not April 16, as earlier announced. And still to come in the news, court threatens to strike out EFCC suit against. Thanks so much for joining us in part 2 of the news. Utilizing God's given talent for all mankind positively will pave way for peaceful coexistence, development and progress in any society. This was a submission of the wife of Ogun State Governor, Mrs. Bamidele Abiodun, during the Ikene Restoration Crusade organized by the Christ Living Spring Apostolic Ministry Global Outreach in conjunction with all churches in Ikene local government area of the state. Adebola Oshomoji reports.
Christ Living Spring Apostolic Ministry is a church where women are being encouraged spiritually in order to have personal encounter with God. This year's outreach, tagged Ikene Restoration Crusade, was observed by all churches in Ikene local government area to seek God's intervention in the current situations in the country. Among the congregation was the wife of Ogun State Governor, Mrs. Bamidele Abiodun, who urged Christians to be spiritually minded and imbibe Christ's teachings in all ramifications.
We live in a time when things have become increasingly difficult for people, a time when the heart of man is desperately wicked. In such times, we must remember that as children of God, the darker the nights, the brighter we shine. This is the time we need God the most. In our country and in our personal lives, we must therefore put our total trust in Him and in Him alone.
In his sermon, Pastor Wole Oladiyan informed the congregation on the essence of the crusade held in Ikene local government and encouraged them not to cease in praying for the peaceful coexistence among Nigerians.
And you shall know that I'm in the midst of Ikene. In the rebel land, I am your God. Your God alone. Not other God. And you shall never be put to shame. And forever.
Prayers were thereafter offered for the continued peace in Ikene, Ogun State, and Nigeria at large. Adebola Oshoboji, OGTV News.
The Pentecostal Sanctuary Bible Ministry Center for Refuge has held the grand finale of the 26th anniversary and 20th annual convention alongside an ordination and Thanksgiving service. The General Overseer, Prophet Sunday Inyuade, said the church is to teach sound doctrines based on the undiluted Word of God. Tiwalade Faison was present at the program held in Ijabodi. A report.
God's sufficiency has to do with divine provision, overflowing and surplus. God is regarded as the provider of all things in adequate proportion. It is on this note that the Pentecostal Sanctuary Bible Ministries Center of Refuge held a combined service of a 26th anniversary and 28th annual convention of the church, cum ordination and Thanksgiving service. In the sermon of Pastor Akin Onimole, he emphasized on the theme of the program, which is God of all sufficiency, stating how sufficient God Almighty is in times of His people's need. Prophet Sunday and Pastor Mrs. Olufumilayo Inyuade, the president and convener of the church, expressed how fulfilled they felt for the success of the program. They also shed light on the vision and mission of the church.
We've been doing this thing in the last 20 years, the convention. The establishment of the church started March 11, 1996, making 26th anniversary. But ever since we've been celebrating a remarkable atmosphere that you can tell somebody that, yes, I see God in action.
This ministry is based on salvation, winnings of soul, that as many that have lost or they could not even understand the interpretations of heaven and earth. So this ministry, therefore, giving them a diluted word of God.
The ordinees appreciated the privilege of being called into the vineyard of God to serve, while they promised to contribute their quota in various ways to the development of the Church of God.
I give God the glory for counting me worthy among multitude to be pastor in His service. So much I appreciate God Almighty. And for the program generally, the program has been so wonderful since Sunday we started. I know that God who has called me to the ministry, He will help me.
It is a privilege for one to have been chosen, even to be a co-laborer in the vineyard of God. This year convention is the all-sufficient God, and His grace is available.
I give all the glory to God Almighty for the opportunity given to me to be among the ordinaries. He called me out of many people. It's a great privilege to me. I really bless the name of God.
Other highlights of the event were rendition by the Pentecostal Sanctuary Bible Ministry Sanctified Voices, children and teen ministration, ordination and Thanksgiving service. Tiwalade Faiso, OGTV News.
Away from that now, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, on Monday disclosed that printing of permanent voters' cards, PVC, for new registrants was being delayed by its robust cleaning up of the voters' register. Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, INEC chairman, disclosed this in his keynote address at the opening ceremony of the 5-day induction retreat for INEC's national commissioners in Lagos. According to him, the commission is encouraged by the response of the citizens to the ongoing continuous voter registration exercise, as it has recently devolved physical registration beyond the state and local government offices nationwide. The chairman said that INEC had completed the automated biometric identification system for the first and second quarter of the CVR, adding that the commission would meet next week and detailed dates and locations for the collection of PVCs will be announced. On the importance of the retreat, he said that the body to conduct free, fair, credible, acceptable and inclusive elections was upon the commission, hence the need for each commissioner to be ethical and knowledgeable. Yakubu disclosed that INEC now had full complement of 12 national commissioners, adding that the retreat would enable the new commissioners learn a lot, especially with the coming to force of the new Electoral Act 2022. The Minority Caucus of the House of Representatives is demanding an investigation over the attack on the Kaduna International Airport by terrorists on Saturday. The caucus, in a statement by its minority leader, Dudi Elumelu, said that the development is another frightening commentary on the apparent collapse of the national security and intelligence gathering coordination. Honorable Elumelu noted that the attack on the airport at a time when roads, railways and communities are being overrun by bandits, kidnappers and invaders has heightened fear across the country, as well as sent a very worrisome signal to the international community regarding the safety of airports and the worsening insecurity in Nigeria. The Minority Caucus called for an urgent comprehensive investigation into the remote and immediate circumstances of compromising security at the airport to pave way for the eventual invasion by the terrorists. The caucus urged the federal government to immediately beef up security in all airports and other public convergence facilities in the country so as to forestall a reoccurrence of such terrifying attack. The Federal High Court in Abuja has announced the rejection of the application for bail filed by suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police Abba and Assistant Commissioner of Police Sunday Ubua. The duo, alongside 5 others, were charged in relation to offences of unlawful drug dealings. Justice Emeka White, in a ruling on Monday, held that the prosecution has placed sufficient materials before the court to warrant the refusal of bail to both senior police officers. Instead, Justice White granted an accelerated hearing of the case. The judge is reading his ruling on the bail applications by the 4th and 5th defendants, Inspector Simon Agiba, Inspector John Nuhu. Meanwhile, a federal high court in Abuja has threatened to strike out the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission suit against former governor of Imo State, Senator Rocha Sokorocha. Justice Inyang Eko gave the warning following a complaint by Cosmas Agugu, counsel for the EFCC, that all efforts made by the agency to effect service of court processes on Okorocha had been unsuccessful. Okorocha, who is expected to be arraigned on a 17-count money laundering charge, is the current senator representing Imo West Senatorial District. Justice Eko had on February 22 adjourned the arraignment until March 28 after Ugo pleaded with the court over the agency's inability to serve the senator. But when the matter was called on Monday, Ugo informed the court that the matter had been slated for arraignment of the defendants. He, however, said, unfortunately, the first defendant was yet to be served with the charge. The EFCC counsel said several efforts need to effect the service so that all the defendants will be charged together were unsuccessful. In a response, Justice Eko reminded Ugo that on February 22, when the case came up, he had given the same excuse. Eko said though he would grant Ugo's prayer for another adjournment, that if he should come up with the same excuse in the next adjourned date, the matter will be struck out. 2 persons have been arrested and paraded for killing a motorcyclist after snatching his bike. Commissioner of Police in Ogun State, Lanre Bankole, revealed this while parading 15 suspects at the police headquarters, Elewero, Abeokuta. Bumi Adigun has the details.
Hamid, Ismail, and Oshoba Yakubu, on the 15th of March this year, were apprehended following a report lodged at Songo Divisional Headquarters by one Buhari Saliu, who reported that his 25-year-old son, Yusuf Buhari, who left home with his motorcycle a day before he was found dead in an uncompleted building at Araromi village via Ilogbo town, and his motorcycle nowhere to be found. Upon the report, the DPO Songo Water Division, SP Saleh Dahiru, detailed his detectives to the scene where the corpse was evacuated and handed over to the family, who insisted on burying him according to their religious belief. Determined to unravel the mystery behind the gruesome murder of the victim, the DPO and his men embarked on technical and intelligence-based investigation, and in conjunction with the community vigilante and SoSafe Corps, Ismail Hamid was arrested with the motorcycle of the victim. His arrest led to the apprehension of his accomplice, Oshoba Yakubu. They have confessed to the commission of the crime and are helping the police in their investigation. Here are the police headquarters, Elewero. Suspects numbering 15 paraded before journalists, and these 2 suspects who killed Yusuf Buhari among them.
The command wants to reiterate its commitment to ensuring adequate security of life and property. We will leave no stone unturned in ridding the state of crime and criminality. This is a promise we made to the good people of Ogun State, and this is a promise that we ensure that we keep.
Another 2 murder suspects, Chidi Samuel and Paul Zachary, who are co-founders of the Christian Fellowship Group Life Builders Network, were arrested for allegedly killing a church member, Favor Okumazo, in Oyon village in Emala, Abeokuta North area of the state. The suspects took some youths numbering 7 away from their parents to an isolated area in Oyon village via Emala for what they called Bible study and fellowship. While in the isolated area, one of the youths whose parents have reported missing at Ibafu police station fell sick and died. The suspects who refused to let the girl go when she fell sick secretly buried her in a shallow grave within the village.
We came here for evangelism and the training program. So at around October last year. So unfortunately we got sick, and one of the girls that we came with died. After trying to save her, we couldn't, so she died in that place. And the mistake that we did was to bury her there before contacting her parents. That's what brought us.
Also paraded were 2 notorious kidnappers, Sulaiman Muhammad and Jato Bello, for numerous kidnapping within Abeokuta metropolis. Others paraded were a group of armed robbery suspects, Moruf Abiodun, Fisayo Aliu, Usman Adeyemi, Daoud Lekon, and Hafiz Adeshino, for snatching a Toyota Corolla car in Peru, and Said Ogundaun, who was arrested for killing with a Dane gun and burying his victim on his farm at Ewekoro. Bumi Adigun, OGTV News.
We now serve the report on the opening session of a two-day coalition for dialogue on Africa. The Vice President of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has called on African leaders to close ranks in strengthening gains of democratic rule in order to deepen the frontier of socio-political and economic development of the continent. Vice President Osinbajo made the call during the opening session of a two-day coalition for dialogue on Africa with the theme, West Africa, rising to the challenges of consolidating democratic governance, held at the Olusegun Presidential Library, Abeokuta. The event had in attendance two former presidents of Nigeria, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo and Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, as well as the Ogun State Governor, Prince Dapo Abiodun, among others. Governor's Office correspondent Yusuf Ganiu reports.
That was the arrival of the Vice President of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, and Ogun State Governor Prince Dapo Abiodun to a meeting organized by the Coalition for Dialogue on Africa, which had the presence of two former presidents, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo and Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, as well as former President of Sierra Leone, Ernest Koroma, Professor Pat Utomi, among other dignitaries, to discuss some of the economic and political challenges, particularly in the West Africa. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who also doubles as the chairman of the board of directors of the CODA, high-level dialogue, said peaceful democracy that has respect for the will of the people and the future of the nations is the only way to create opportunities for new ideas, innovations, entrepreneurship, and development.
I invite you to reflect on your experiences to help identify possible solutions to the challenges in our democratic system and propose key messages to action, ECOWAS, and our national government.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, who gave a keynote address commending the 22-year unbroken democratic journey in Nigeria, as he bemoaned the recent coup and unconstitutional change of government in some African countries, saying this is capable of slowing socio-economic and political development and progress on the continent, if not adequately addressed.
We witnessed a series of peaceful transitions of power. A huge credit to the democratic sensibilities of our people. Along the way, we are learning valuable lessons that can only make us better practitioners of the liberal democracy that we adopted. We may be in the 23rd unbroken year as a democracy, but in the grand scheme of things, our country, as is the case with several other African countries, is still a young democracy. Many of our institutions are still in their infancy, and we must carefully guide and nurture them into maturity.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo submitted that democracy can only be strengthened in Africa when the problems of poverty and abuse of human rights are well addressed.
We have a very strong civil society that continues to push for greater accountability, transparency, and the deepening of democratic practice. In keeping with our foreign policy tradition, Nigeria has been a clear and strident voice for the promotion of democracy on the continent, and we have been resolute in condemning extra-constitutional seizures of power. Historically, we've also worked hard to restore and preserve democracy.
Resolutions reached at the two-day high-level dialogue are expected to be passed on to ECOWAS and political leaders in West Africa as possible solutions to those challenges facing the sub-region and its development. Yusuf Ganiyu, OGTV News.
Whoopsie daisy, don't call me crazy. I'm just learning as I go. I promise I'll make
Forgiveness is easy. New Dulux Easy Care with stain-resist technology, the ultimate washable matte paint. Dulux, let's color.
Every 28th of March brings to memory the World Piano Day, a day that unites piano lovers across the globe as they celebrate the king of musical instruments. In this special report, Margaret Okunlola, alongside experts, take a look at this magical instrument and how significant it is to arts and music in the world. Today, a report.
Every year, there are over 1,500 national days celebrated across the globe. And today is a special one as well, this time in the world of arts and music. World Piano Day is celebrated every 88th day of the year. Amazingly, the same as the number of keys embedded in a standard piano. This year's World Piano Day falls on the 28th of March, 2022. Musical instruments are grouped together in families. It's relatively easy to determine what family most instruments belong. But this is not the case with the piano, as it's different stroke for different folks. While some say it's a percussion instrument, others say it belongs to the string family. Well, you can as well say the piano is unique as it belongs to both families. This made it earn the name King of Musical Instruments.
The uniqueness of the piano is because it has a combination of the strings. Apart from the strings, you have the percussions. In other words, you actually want to make a drum mixture of drum beats. You could actually have it on the piano. You want to play the strings, you could do that. You want to play jolly kind of music, you could also do that too, all on the piano.
Adeyinka Onodeko is a master of the keys that make up this magical instrument. And he took us on a ride into the world of his 5-octave piano.
On piano, I can tell you with this piano, I can bring out gorgon for you there. I can bring out drum set for you. I can tell you to bring guitar with trumpet. So it's a very major instrument that is needed in music.
The piano has its unique way of appealing to the soul, as the chords relate deep down to its listeners.
There is a way that when you strike a note or you strike a chord, it's like there's a connection with these notes and the soul. For those that are pianists, they might already be able to connect with the beauty that comes with playing the piano. For those that are not, I think you should just get to listen to a fine pianist play one day and you would naturally fall in love with it.
There are various types of piano ranging from grand piano, digital, upright piano, among others. Margaret Okunlola, OGTV News.
Thanks so much, Margaret. Business News is next with Adebola Oshomoji.
Welcome to the business segment of the news. The federal government's total borrowing from the Central Bank of Nigeria through ways and means advances has risen by 96.5% or 8.92 trillion naira in 2 years. It rose from 9.24 trillion naira as of January 2020 to 18.16 trillion naira as of January 2022, according to a year-on-year analysis. The 18.16 trillion naira owed by the federal government to the Apex Bank is not part of the country's total public debt stock, which stood at 39.53 trillion naira as of December 2021, according to the Debt Management Office. The public debt stock only includes the debt of the federal government of Nigeria, the 36 state government, and the Federal Capital Territory. Ways and Means Advances is a loan facility through which the CBN finances the government's budget shortfalls. The National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, said the federal government's generated 2.07 trillion naira as value-added tax, VAT, last year. This represents a 33% year-on-year increase in VAT when compared to 1.55 trillion naira generated in 2020. Findings from the data in MBS sectoral distribution of VAT reports for fourth quarter of 2021 released at the weekend showed that VAT stood at 512.2 billion naira in first quarter 2021 and fell by 3.16% to 496 billion naira in second quarter 2021. In third quarter 2021, VAT rose marginally by 0.88% to 500.4 billion naira and up by 12.6% to 563.7 billion naira in fourth quarter 2021. The International Monetary Fund has advised Nigeria and other developing countries to exploit the revenue potentials of personal income tax. According to the IMF, personal income tax is a viable source of revenue that has the potential of boosting the local economy. It disclosed this in a report titled Personal Income Tax as Untapped Potential in Poorer Countries. The Washington-based lender added that governments aiming to achieve lasting economic recovery from the pandemic must focus on increasing their revenue source and personal income tax, which is a tax levied on wages, salaries, and other income offers that cushion. The federal government says while oil prices are on the rise, Nigeria is not reaping the full benefit of the current windfall because of years of neglect of the oil industry. The Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, gave the explanation at a media briefing on Monday in Abuja. He said while oil-producing countries are today smiling to the bank as oil prices are on the rise, Nigeria is not, because the previous administration failed to stimulate growth in the oil sector for many years. The financial pressure on the three tiers of the Nigerian government is escalating as deduction from the oil revenue, the major source of inflow of the Federation account, rise sharply. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC Limited, deductions increased by 40.45% quarter on quarter in the first quarter of 2022 to 883.4 billion naira from 629.07 billion naira in the preceding quarter. The deduction effected in March stood at 266.52 billion naira, while other deductions in the past month were February 2022, 228.52 billion naira, January 2022, 388.52 billion naira, December 2021, 194.11 billion naira, November 2021, 284.01 billion naira, and October 2021, 150.95 billion naira. Deductions, according to the NNPC reports to the FAC, were to offset the payment of petrol subsidy, pipeline repairs, and joint venture cost recovery. The Association of Bureau de Change Operators of Nigeria has solicited the Central Bank of Nigeria's support in ensuring that Bureau de Change operators continue to sell dollars to the end users. In a notice to its members nationwide, the APCON National Executive Council appealed to the regulator to revisit the stoppage of dollar sales to the BDCS to bring lasting stability to the Naira. The group disagreed with claims that the Naira has remained largely stable and converging following the stoppage of dollar allocation to the BDCS. According to the APCON-NEC, BDC has remained the most potent tool for the CBN to achieve its foreign exchange rate management. Bakers under the aegis of the Premium Bread Makers Association of Nigeria have said a harsh business environment triggered by rising energy costs An increase in forex rate has caused some of its members across the country to shut down their business operations. PBAN President Emmanuel Onuora described the present situation as worrisome and immediately crippling the operators in the bread-making businesses segment. He expressed concerns over what he called the lackluster attitude of the government towards addressing the harsh operating environment faced by businesses. He said companies are shutting down their businesses as a result of the increase in the price of diesel. And that was business news. Back to Bukola for the rest of our news.